Shalom, Yasha'Allah. First and foremost, I want to give all praises and honor and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash, the fathers of our apostles, the elders, a great millstone, who grew well, and peace and blessings to the hopeful elect that pushes the great gospel with sincerity and truth. This your brother Tazakai Yahweh from the great millstone, Indianapolis camp, coming at you with another lesson through the spirit of power, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, and Lord willing be edifying. Got an article here from The Guardian, and it reads, North Korea analysis. What's behind the sudden increase in missile tests from North Korea? And it says, with 6 launches in 12 days, North Korea is flexing its muscles and taking advantage of geopolitical turmoil across the world. This article came out today, October 6, 2022, the year Yahweh Washington Mashai turned it up. And it says, millions of residents of northern Japan will have felt a sense of deja vu on Tuesday morning when they were alerted to a North Korean missile flying overhead. 5 years earlier, they had twice been shaken from their slumber by Japanese government warnings to seek shelter after missile launches from Pyongyang. Yeah, Pyongyang, I believe that's how you say it. The intermediate range missile involved in this week's test was far from buzzing the rooftops of Hokkaido farmhouses. It flew at an altitude of 1,000 kilometers as it made its way to the Pacific Ocean, where it splashed down without incident more than 3,000 kilometers east of Japan. However, it caused understandable anxiety among residents, even though its record-breaking flight was intended as a message not to Japan but to the Biden White House. As in the case with every other major display of North Korean military might, timing and context are as important as any indication that the regime's weapons are becoming more technological advanced and more threatening. The consensus among Pyongyang watchers was that the North Korean leader Kim Jong-un would avoid taking any action that could steal the regional limelight from China, the North's main ally and biggest aid donor, as it prepares to hold a rare Communist Party Congress on October 16. But there are compelling reasons why Pyongyang has chosen this moment to launch a missile believed to be the Hwasong-12 that is theoretically capable of striking the U.S. Pacific territory of Guam. It was a reminder that North Korea's weapons technology is advancing, having flown further than any other missile to date. As part of a wider demonstration of the regime's ballistic capabilities, it has conducted 8 missile launches in just 10 days and a unprecedented 40 so far this year, according to the UN. It would be wrong to understate the role pure indignation plays in the North's timing. This week's test comes soon after the U.S. and South Korea resumed large-scale naval drills that Pyongyang believes are a rehearsal for an invasion, and after a visit to the heavily armed border dividing the Korean peninsula by the U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris. Oh, there she go. Don't know where she been at lately. It's a consequence of global disunity in strategic terms. Pyongyang's more assertive behavior is a consequence of global political instability that has given it an opportunity to provoke its neighbors without fear of inviting another round of sanctions. It's like, it says the war in Ukraine has not only become a distraction for Joe Biden, it has opened the door to closer ties between Pyongyang and Moscow, while recent Chinese military activity in the Taiwan Strait has enabled the North to exploit rising tensions between Washington and Beijing. The heady days of unity on display in 2017 when the UN Security Council, including Russia and China, imposed heavy sanctions on the North are over. That much was clear in May this year when China and Russia vetoed a resolution imposing new penalties on the regime. This disunity means more serious provocations lie on the horizon as the North continues to exploit Ukraine, Taiwan, and the hamstrung Security Council to push its status as a legitimate nuclear state with the ability to target the U.S. mainland with a nuclear-armed intercontinental ballistic missile. As the Center for Strategic and International Studies noted this week, previous sequences of North Korean ballistic missile tests have been followed by a nuclear test. U.S. and South Korean officials have been warning for months that a 7th nuclear test is imminent, while satellite imagery of a fully primed Punggye testing site suggests the only question now is one of the political timing. At this point, At this point, for Kim Jong Un to turn back and hold provocations would seem counterproductive to his interests, not to mention the amount of resources squandered to conduct these weapons, has said Sue Kim, an analysis at the Rand Corporation. We are in a cycle of weapons provocations. What's left essentially is an intercontinental ballistic missile test and potentially the long-awaited seventh nuclear test. And we have a small favor that don't worry about that favor. In the sign in the times to come, you ain't gonna be asked for that. So that's the latest that's coming out of the North Korean regime. These missile tests, right? Because a lot of people believe, like it just be funny. You see people. I don't know what do you be thinking. Like, well, for one, some people don't even believe missiles even exist. And then not only that, but like nukes in itself, like that's just madness in itself. But then another thing that always jumps out to me is people think when you see these parades, these military parades, and you see these big ass missiles and stuff like that, like they driving them down the street and all this and that. Do you think that's just for display, for show? For applause and for claps and yeehaws and throwing popcorn and stringers every day. Like, you think that's what it's for? You think when they draw this down the street, it just came out of mass production? What do you think they're about to do? Take it to a museum? No, these are going to be used in the third war that's coming. That's prophesied to happen. Meaning what? It's going to happen. Not whether you like it or whether you don't want to. Like just the other day, I was me and my people. We like Cowboys fans. We watching the game or whatever. And then my dad, sometimes he sometimes shoot me, hit me with questions about this and that. When I think about that, because in my early years coming to the truth, that zeal, used to tell them stuff like that. So he paid attention, right? So he said, he was just talking about what was going on over there, and like talking about Russia and Ukraine, this and that. I'm like, eventually, World War III gonna happen, and he think like to the rational mind, as what they say, if there was a nuclear war or whatever, it'll blow the world over 7 times over. What I'm saying? So he's saying like the balance has been, he did say this. He said the Lord he did a good job at creating the sides as far as like alliances and who with who and who this and that, because he believed. What he's saying is he think that's what's going to hold the stability of the world to not go to World War III, because they can identify each other's capabilities, which will be chaotic for both sides. What he don't know, what I told him, that don't matter. You're right. He did set these alliances up, but guess what? He also set an order in motion for what? For World War III to happen, for these missiles to be shot and hit various places in the world. That's what he also set. But of course, the mind who's not in tune with the spirit, they ultimately don't want that to happen because it scares them to think about it. But at the end of the day, we know that World War III gonna come. That's just the mindset of people. Hey, definitely don't wish nothing bad upon my father. Definitely as the rest of us, who believe, Lord willing, our parents can receive, mercy and salvation. But at the end of the day, that's up to you how about Shem Shy. We gotta give our calling, make our calling, give diligence to make our calling election sure, and also say to work out your own salvation. So we gotta worry about you first and foremost. But nothing wrong with having, thoughts and hopes. But so lucky for that little ramble, it just came to my mind, people be like, man, it just wouldn't make sense for it to happen, right? But guess what? It's going to happen. This is Joel chapter 3, verse 9. And it do make sense when you understand that this place has to be destroyed so you don't be oppressed anymore. See, our people don't got comfortable in the West and under oppressors. No, that's not, that's what the men of the Lord is not hastening. We're not hastening the day in the company of Yahweh Shai to stay as slaves and service. No, we hasten that day so we can be the rulers, the priests, the kings, those who are set in order over all those upon the face of the earth. That's what we waiting on. So, no. So going on to say what? This is Joel chapter 3, verse 9. Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles. So listen to this. Publish this, claim this, tell them this. Prepare war. Prepare for war. What the hell you think they make doing these missiles tests for? It's not for play. It's not for it's the new high score record. This one doing this far. No. Prepare war. What's war? Conflict between nations. Right? Fighting. Blood, gore. Tanks and all this and that. Like that's what war is. Wake up the mighty man. Let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up. Right? That's why you got what's going on now. They talking about drafts. I want people to, enlist this and what Russia doing. They enlisting prisoners and stuff like that. Yeah, wake up war. Draw all the men of war. Let them draw near. And also to add, they said And this, I guess, this year recruiting, for the U.S. military, as it was a 25% deficit. You see, so definitely, daughter of Babylon is definitely falling and being tore down. The morality is not as it used to be. It say verse 10, beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the so that's what's going on right now. That should be the mindset of the people. War should be in your mind. It's because it's inevitable. Not trying to sustain life and live happily ever after and this, that, and the other. No, war is being prepared, right? So be, say that's what your mindset should be, right? It say let the weak say I am strong. As a matter of fact, that's what they're doing over there in this little Russian war, whatever they was. The people in Ukraine, they was calling all the farmers and mechanics and engineers to stop doing your work and come and take up arms. Just a little example, and that's what's gonna happen to the rest of the world. Right? It say, well, let the weak say I am strong. And this is one of the ways that the weak saying I am strong, doing what? Showing you that we have that same nuclear capability that you got. The things that you used that made you a spectacle, that made all nations fear you during World War II, guess what? We got that capability as well. And not only that, we have military, a lot of, upgraded military, advanced technology. And guess what? We have strong military ties or alliances with other major superpowers. Yeah, we understand that, like it was saying, that Korea, they main ally, the definitely main ally is, the Chinese, which they the same people anyway. But also what it said, that they was also increasing their ties with who? Russia, and who's Russia's main ally? The Chinese. So they definitely have a strong two superpower allies backing them up. It say, assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about. Thither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Yahweh Shemashai, and the mighty ones going to who? The angels. Because we know when Yahweh pull up, what's going to happen? He going to pull up with the holy angels. They going to come too. It's going to be World War III, and that's when Yahweh going to make his grand entrance with the holy angels. Right? As the heathen all being assembled together, fight each other, they going to pull up. It say, let the heathen be wakened and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat, which is a region in the Middle East, right? That's where the main World War III, that's where the main showdown going to be. For there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about. So how about Shemashai going to judge all the heathen, right? Put ye in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come and get you down, for the press is full. The fats overflow, for their wickedness is great. And right, pretty much what they're saying is, hey, the time is right for death and destruction to come to this place. Right? We understand that sickle is what? You use a sickle to what? Cut down. Right? And these missiles, these missiles definitely going to cut down nations. Definitely going to cut down people. Right? They're saying that press is full. Right? And we understand that the Lord said, we're going to come back and he treadeth the wine press. Right? The press going to be full of what? Blood. And the fats overflow, for their wickedness is great. The wickedness, hey, it said what? For wickedness have exceedingly polluted the whole earth, and their hurtful works are fulfilled. It's over with. Hey, it's the curtain call. Yahweh shall come through with all righteousness to destroy and put out that which is wicked, the actual wicked and wickedness in the world, right? Because it's all about the elements shall burn with fervent heat, and all the works therein, all the works of wickedness going to be burnt up as well. It's a verse 14, multitudes in the valley of decision. For the day of the Lord Yahweh Shemashai is near in the valley of decision, and the decision is going to be what? Y'all going to be put to death. That's what the decision is going to have to, y'all. That's what when he come plead with all flesh, he going to come judge you. Not going to be like, oh, sorry, beg and plead the nations to stop being wicked and treacherous to our people. No, he going to come kill y'all. You know what I'm saying? He going to cut you down, as he said, put the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. This place is ripe for the taking. The world is ripe for the taking, right? And we understand that we're in that time period now. It's so like it's saying, we're going to get a few on this, because the main thing is about what? Those missiles. Now, peep this. This is Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 9. For lo, I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon. Remember, they said it wasn't, they missile wasn't a threat to Japan. No, this was a threat to show Joe Biden in the White House, to show them. You know what I'm saying? Like, of course, Japan is an ally of Babylon right now, but we did this to show them our capabilities, because we can hit y'all. They can hit Japan. So we working on to be able to hit them over there. So it say, for lo, I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon, assembly of great nations from the north country. And we understand the head of that north country is going to be leading the charge is who? Russia, the bear, the Medes, right? The spiritual Medes. They are going to be that country that lead that assembly of great nations, China Like I said, we understand through prophecies that Turkey gonna switch. You gonna have all those. You got Iran on their side. Then all the dragons of Arabia, they all gone. As a matter of fact, I just seen something. I think it said something about. I think Russia was meeting up with Saudi Arabia, I believe. Don't quote me on that. You can look it up, but they was meeting up with each other to, I don't know, cut a deal. Saudi Arabia is supposed to be an American ally, but hey, who knows what may come out of that. But we ultimately know the end all be all that all Babylon's or America's allies gonna turn against them anyway. But it says what? That's that north country, the Russian, and say they shall set themselves in array against her. From thence shall she be taken. Their arrows, right, shall be as a mighty expert. None shall be as of a mighty expert. None shall return in vain. And it says, and when we get into that term arrow, we understand that that's not talk about actual bow and arrow, now it's talking about missiles, because you go over right here, get the definition of an arrow. So like, I always want somebody. So arrow, it say what? A slender, straight, generally pointed missile or weapon made to be shot from a bow, which you understand the bow is going to be with the silos and equipped with the feather at the end of the shaft near the nock. And we understand that feather is symbolized as being what? That fire, that exhaust, that jet fuel, that rocket fuel that's propelling the missile, the arrow, right? So they see what they say, a slender, straight, generally pointed missile. So when you see missiles or whatever, you can tie that to what? When you see arrows, you can tie that to what? A missile, right? So that's what they're going to be firing at them, those who set them ways around Babylon the Great, right? It's and I'll read this real quick. It say the Lord Yahweh Shemashah have opened his armory and have brought forth the weapons of his indignation. Part of those weapons is what? Those intercontinental ballistic missiles. For this is the work of Yahweh Shemashah, power of hosts in the land of the Chaldeans, which is what? Over here in Babylon the Great. You get what I'm saying? So I just want to read that real quick. I want to go to the next chapter. You can read all that, and the Lord just get down and speaking of the destruction of Babylon, like both of these chapters, right? But right here, Jeremiah chapter 51, verse 11, it says, "Make bright the arrows." Again, make bright the arrows, those missiles. Gather the shields. The Lord Yahweh Shemashah have raised up the spirit of the king of the Medes. And if you look on the ancient map, you go into the land of the Medes, it goes up, saying, it goes up into what they call, I believe it's in between the Caspian and Black Sea, I believe, and you keep going up, and that's what? The land of the Medes, which is what? Russia. It say, for his device is against Babylon. That main device is what? Thermonuclear warheads from the missiles. For his device is against Babylon to destroy it. Right? That's the will of Yahweh Shemashah. That's his pleasure to destroy Babylon. You people be like, oh, I want y'all. We know we can hold hands and join together. Things get better and pray. No, you gonna be destroyed as well with Babylon, because you want to uphold the standard. You want Babylon to last forever. It is not. Right? And they say, well, because it is the vengeance, right, a payback for what he done to his people. Yahweh Shemashah's people. Also, and these are same people who got us in captivity, who ruled the whole world, who was behind the crucifixion of our Lord and Savior Yahweh Shemashah. So you think the Lord will go take vengeance upon them? Man, think again. Because it is the vengeance of Yahweh Shemashah and the vengeance of his temple. And we make up the temple of Yahweh Shemashah. Right? There's no, they talking about we're going to build the third mountain, the third temple. No, the temple is us. Right? There was no set orders from Yahweh Shemashah in this time period to build him up a temple. No, we became the temple. Right? It says, set up the standard upon the walls of Babylon, make the watch strong, set up the watchman, right? You got the watchman telling you about these things, telling you that they're going to come to pass, right? Prepare the ambushes of who? The ambushes of who? Of these other nations. For the Lord Yahweh Shemashah had devised and done that which he spake against. He speak against the inhabitants of Babylon, right? Oh, thou dwellest upon many waters, talking about who? Many peoples, abundant in treasures, right? You see, it was rich, to be made rich off ultimately what? The blood and sweat and tears of his slaves and servants, and that's us, Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, right? Thy end is come, and the measure of thy covetousness, right? So ultimately, like I said, thy end is come. The end is come for Babylon the Great, for all the abundance of wickedness that has been generated out of this place, right? All these nations, they said that they got in bed and drunk and wine and wrath for fornication. The hub of wickedness is over here in Babylon the Great, and it will be taken out. That's a fact. That's not an opinion. That's not a hope. It is a part of a hope, but it's actual a fact. It's inevitable. That is what is going to happen, right? It says, and that was all. Like I said, you can get into this, and like I said, the Lord got down. He was talking about the destruction of this place. So, without further ado, I probably get a couple more. This is 2nd Ezra chapter 16, verse 11. The Lord Yahweh shall threaten, right? And his threats are what? Promises as well. And who shall not be utterly beaten to powder at his presence? We understand that the elect of Yahweh will not be utterly beaten to powder at his presence. But as for everybody else and all the other various places that's allotted for destruction, they surely shall be. Right? Verse 12, the earth quaketh and the foundations thereof, right? The sea arises up with the waves from the deep, and the waves of it are troubled. And the fishes thereof also before the Yahweh Shai, before the glory of his power. Because why is the earth going to be quaking? Because why? You read Revelation 9, it say what? What does it say? 200,000? Well, ultimately 200 million warheads are going to be shot across the world. And we understand that the main devastation, the main destruction is going to come over here in Babylon the Great. From those missiles, that's why I say the earth shall reel to and fro like a drunkard. 200 million warheads. Think about that. Just think about just pelting. Boom, 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 boom. And that's why I talk about the waves and the fish, because why? Some of them going to hit down there. Some of them ain't going to necessarily hit their mark, but they going to play a point because why? I said what? And the waters became bitter, wormwood. So what? That means contamination from the radioactive fallout from the thermonuclear warhead. So some of them are allotted to hit the water, purposely. But at the end of the day, the whole world the earth is going to quake because all these missiles hitting simultaneously, just hitting, boom, 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 just rocking everything, right? It say, for the strong is his right hand that bendeth the bow. His arrows, right? You understand what the bow is, what the silos. His arrows, which are the missiles that he shooteth, are sharp and shall not miss. They not going to miss. They